find him and fight him. It's not going to be picked up this early in the draft, obviously, because we've only seen it once so far this World's play. Instead, they just secure themselves what has been probably the most successful bottom lane.
But now, I'm very happy because we get to see a Pyke here, and there's no Leona. So this is not the ideal matchup. Going up against a Pyke, very easy for this guy to dictate the pace in the laning phase with how much mobility he has. And I'm worried about Hjärnan on Kaisa. Once again, G2 going back to putting a carry burden on the shoulders of their AD carries, which has historically been a very mixed bag.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, at the same time, I think that you do have to have faith in Hjärnan at this stage of the tournament. His Jin game did look better than his 2 carry performances, I will agree. However, he did soak up a lot of farm in the game versus Ascension when he was on the similar pick and are able to come through in those final team fights. Talking about Pyke a little bit, we thought that, you know, with the priority being put on Tahm, Kench, Braum, Alistar, we're going to actually see a little bit more of Pyke because he does have some good matchups in that trio. However, the counter picks have been there, and teams seem to have been taking him a little bit too early in the draft. I like the fact that they dropped Rich's priority here because NikSar is one of those AD carries that you can give him something like a Varus, leave him alone, and allow him to play the lane kind of 1v2, and give Rich windows to be able to play around G4's lane. Now, G4 is a player historically that will play super aggressive. In saying that, his Corki did look okay. So they do have scaling options. So I do think that, you know, potentially against PerkZ, you roll the dice, you play the Assassin, and I want to see what matchup they give the mid laner because I think Rich and Lloyd can help him out this time around.
When we look at the way the bottom lane is shaping up,
It should be Varus.
Yeah, Pyke will have a ton of freedom to roam because the Kaisa Alistar lane not known for hard pushing people under its tower. What is the choice going to be for Ascension?
I mean, you can go even like safer, play something like an Ezreal. What the? Okay.
Well, if you're going to go out swinging, I guess. Vayne now getting locked in from the... He says you want to go toe-to-toe in the late-game duelist battle.
Play something to leave the lane, says Spawn. Vayne is locked in. Okay.
You know, we're going to take it in stride, Spawn, because if this Taliyah gets locked in, I'll be very surprised. Jankos, of course, exceptional in some early games, but for now it will be the Syndra locked in and handed over to PerkZ in the mid lane. Definitely a proactive pick, one that can put a lot of kill pressure onto whatever G4 wants to pick up here.
I wouldn't be all that surprised because Taliyah plus Alistar is actually pretty easy teamfight engage if Jankos is able to find the flanks that he needs to. Also farms at a similar pace. If Olaf ever gets on top of you, you die, but I think that's the exact same in nearly every Olaf matchup and should just be able to avoid him on Summoner's Rift at the same time.
We'll see what Jankos can do. We've seen 2 shades of Jankos this year. Last time we saw him in the Taliyah, it was the one we're excited about, the good Jankos. Snowballing an early game against Schalke in a tiebreaker. Sadly, it was only the early game where he remained relevant, and he's going to need a little bit more than early game to go toe-to-toe with a late-scaling Kassadin now on the lineup of Ascension.
Yeah, and if this game goes past 40 minutes, and I don't often say this when Kaisa is on the other team, Ascension's lineup is intimidating to say the least. You know, if this is going to be thrower into tier, Kassadin, just so much late game damage that we saw come out of GBM. Also a very solid laning phase picking up fleet footwork as a keystone mastery, so PerkZ potentially not going to be able to bully out a lane. You know, NikSar on a Vayne, it's one of the highest damage 80 carries in the game. And there's certainly ways for them to be able to play around. And I think the nervousness should come from what does the early game look like? You know, how are we able to get any priority? How are we able to get any pushes with a Vayne, with a Kassadin on the bottom side of the map, without a couple of cheeky Olaf axes? Some of these waves could just be perpetually stuck under turret.
And with the playmaking potential on the opposite side of a Pyke to set up that bottom side of the map, do you have to constantly be scared of that Olaf Vayne? Because that Vayne gets 1 or 2 kills, it becomes a very different game Spawn. But I think safe to say, neither of these teams drafted what we would have expected when we look at the previous matchups that they've had.
Yeah, I think that, you know, G2's draft is a little bit more on point. You know, Syndra as opposed to something like an Orianna, I can see it, and, you know, it fits perfectly into PerkZ's wheelhouse. You know, Wunder's already played a couple of games on the Urgot. You know, we've seen Kaisa, we've seen Alistar. So I think their comp is actually pretty standard. You know, they've just gone with what's worked. On the flip side, I think that Ascension has just decided that, you know, we're going to go down playing our style of League of Legends. There's going to be some mechanical outplays. We're going to throw the kitchen sink at them one more time. We're going to staunch them off some waves, and we're going to start some brawls and just see what happens.
I'm ready. I absolutely love the Southeast Asian style of League of Legends. This team from Thailand are going to try to bring it home here in their final game. G2, seeing what they can do, seeing what they can put up here. Korean crowd rallying behind their favorite teams. Spawn, I know the late game. You've talked about 40 minutes. We're 40 minutes away from that. But for now, early game seems to be the focus. And I think we have to talk about where do these junglers go? Because I see a lot of lanes that a single kill outside of mid lane can change entirely.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, there's kind of two ways that you play it. You either play towards the top side of the map, especially if you are G2, because that is a carry that you want to see excel. Wunder, when he has been able to generate leads, has looked impressive. Instead, they're going to go towards Perk.
Get a little bit of damage down. Jankos going to trade some damage back. See, this is what we're talking about. Now, normally they wait till minute 4 or 5
before they start throwing.
Before they start fighting. But if they want to start at minute 1, who am I to complain?
So I was going to say, if G2 want to play towards the side of the map, I would expect it to be top lane. At the same time, we've already mentioned the fact that with Pyke Vayne, there is so much playmaking ability in the bottom lane of Ascension. And if Lloyd lands that first axe, if they're able to chain any of that CC, they will kill either of those members. So excited to see if Lloyd does get down there, help out NikSar, maybe flip the map and try and split it with this G2 lineup.
For now, a bit of a patient start, though. What do each of the junglers want to do? A bit of a late start coming in for Jankos, actually on the bottom side of the map. He was keen to harass out. May just be a little bit behind on the Olaf. The Olaf, of course, not getting a leash and getting knocked pretty low by a little bit of Jankos harass, but not the end of the world for an Olaf whatsoever. And G4, actually feeling pretty confident in this lane phase, using that movement speed from the fleet footwork quite nicely to dodge some of those synergies.
Yeah, and the second time we're going to see the Kassadin picked up, you know, the exact same Runes of Mastery choice that GBM went towards. The late game scaling is going to be there, so all you need to be able to do is get yourself through that early laning phase, and it doesn't look to be a problem right now for the Kassadin. So pressure is on Perk. What can he do with the shell priority that he's going to be able to generate? Can he push and help out Jankos on one of the sides of the map? Is he just content to go for the plays? Because last time we saw this, it was actually the LeBlanc leaving the lane, picking up 3 early kills, and still it did not matter.
G4 now trading back. A lot of damage being thrown out by PerkZ. Magic Shield not going to be too effective in that trade.
He missed 2 creeps.
Pressure in the mid lane from PerkZ, I think unsurprising in the early game. How long can Kassadin hold out is always a better question in this lane. And how long will PerkZ survive if Kassadin can hold out and get that level 6 under his belt?
Well, it was actually G4 that experienced the flip side of this lane. So I like the fact that, you know, he obviously didn't enjoy playing against it all that much. So instead he says, you know what, I'm going to give it a crack. I'm historically one of the better assassin players in my region. And you can see the lane is actually going fine for him. It's hit the turret. It's going to bounce back slowly. He's got a teleport to be able to rejoin this wave if he wants to be able to do so. And he is farming absolutely fine. And really, for the first 20-odd minutes of the game, all Kassadin really wants to be able to do is secure farm before potentially moving to a side lane, potentially joining the team fight. So I think that, once again, the early proactiveness does have to be in G2's hands.
And that's kind of the concern for me, because when we saw the Akali Zillion matchup in one of G2's first matches on this stage, where PerkZ was neutralized by that pick from GBM, G2 struggled as a team. But with a little bit more push priority, a little bit less wave clear from the Kassadin, maybe PerkZ can finally have that game where he is freed up to either make a bigger impact in his own lane or help someone else on the map.
Yeah, and I think that that means if we're talking heavily about the junglers, the mid laners, eyes will turn towards the junglers eventually, because they're going to be the 2 members of the teams that allow these mid laners the freedom to be able to do what they want to do. You know, either farm out, as actually Lloyd just wants to fight.
Flashing forward, sidestepping there, might be enough to kill Jankos. Jankos gonna have to flash over the wall. Where's the axe gonna go? That's the big question. The only thing on Jankos' mind, luckily, he gets that passive up and he walks right away.
I mean, but that's massive for Lloyd, because now he's chunked him out of the jungle and has access to this mid lane, going to allow G4 to just be able to continue to farm, and that's what we said. Jungle is going to heavily impact this side of the map, and that was Jankos actually outplaying. Lloyd just flashed on him and he missed the flick point blank. Had to burn the summoner spells in response, and that's just the early game pressure that can come out of something like the Olaf.
Have to respect it here, and Jankos has to be that much more scared because the Predator going to be off cooldown quite quickly. However, the flash for both these guys is going to take a little bit longer. PerkZ for now poking at his opposition, knowing he has to play a little bit more safe in this laning phase and already running low on mana. No TP for him as there is for the Kassadin, but maybe can just push out here, get a good back, try to keep the pressure up on this pre-6 Kassadin. The window does start to shrink though, and PerkZ not hesitating to throw down a bit of harass, but the trades are just getting harder and harder as Kassadin gets more levels in that queue.
Yeah, and PerkZ shouldn't need the teleport to be able to rejoin this lane. You know, he has access to the minion wave whenever he wants. against a melee opponent. Wunder potentially looking for something on the top side. However, Lloyd in trouble.
Just moving in, Lloyd taking a lot of damage here, a lot of initial punch coming up. Rich is here though, first blood goes out. Pyke gonna get right out with that Phantom Undertow. Doesn't want a piece of it. Solid first blood pickup for G2.
Yeah, both supports rotating up. Rich was there first, but it didn't matter because PerkZ and Jankos on exactly the same page. Now G4 wants in, however.
No mana from PerkZ. Wadid is on the way. Is he going to commit for anything else? Looks like G4 now running, but he has to be careful. Jankos is ready with the follow-up CC. They may just be able to burn through the Kassadin, but he wants it. The Pyke leaping forward. Here comes the hook. Pulls him back. Doesn't even need to. PerkZ's corpse on the ground as Rich now runs. Should be easy for the Pyke to make it out, but Jankos is on the hunt nonetheless. Knows better than to pursue any further.
Heads up play out of Rich as well, just puts down the control ward, makes sure that he isn't on vision as he completes the recall. So in the end, it is just a 1-for-1 trade, and very nicely done for the support player of Ascension. Doesn't even have to burn the summoner spell. But this is just Lloyd very confident because he thinks that they have enough vision around mid lane to be able to spot when the Alistar is coming in. He thinks that he has Rich there to follow up with support. Not obviously going to be the case. PerkZ then a little bit of baiting. Thinks that, you know, Wadid as well as Jankos can join this fight, that he will be fine with the heal, with the flash. Actually even walks forward for some cheeky auto attack. Doesn't account for the damage that's going to come out of Rich coming out of G4. And that's just a misplay.
Now, here comes the Pyke once again. Where's it going to go? Bone Skewer. Get charged up momentarily, but for now they're just going to try to burn through the Olaf as he runs. Phantom Undertow's not going to connect, and that means Hjärnan can keep the push moving forward. Cooldowns would Wadid have. Does he want to commit anything else? Zoning off, but they're not going to commit anything more for the play.
Yeah, that's a disappointing gank coming out. They looked like they were behind. NikSar looked like he had burnt the flash to be able to make something happen there. Not going to be the case. G4 runs into PerkZ.
So poking down on PerkZ. PerkZ, of course, with the ultimate available, but G4 not concerned whatsoever. Has the catalyst, a bit more tankiness. Of course, the passive of Kassadin to keep him a little bit more resistant to the early plays, but Jankos now has to be careful. He's the one in trouble. Level 5, red buff may be able to peel him back, but almost impossible to get this Kassadin out of him without the help of PerkZ. He goes in, he wants a little bit more, but he's gonna need one more alt charge or the flash to commit. Now is he gonna go for PerkZ too? He has the red buff, he has the regen. Maybe he can keep this play going. Wunder wants to keep it, but Lloyd is on the backside. G4 leaping over. Double kill dropping for G4. Wunder fires back, but this Kassadin is taken off.
Yeah, it certainly is. However, Wunder is already 30 CS ahead in the top lane, now has a red buff and a kill, so not all bad news for G2 fans. G4 at the same time, we saw what kind of the 0-0-0 Kassadin did when it got its items. Now he is 2-1-1, up in CS, having a very good time in this lane so far. This is, one more time, just a little bit of greed, backing on a ward, doesn't exit out of the jungle in vision. And you can see that G4 just plays it confidently. There's no mana available. Credit to Wunder, he's already started the rotation down. You could see it already at the back of the red buff by the time he died. Jankos looking for the gang.
Jankos and the ultimate. Rich is going to be able to leave out safe, but NikSar not quite so lucky. Not enough time to wait for the wall, and that means he drops the Hjärnan. A lot of blood being traded back and forth across the map. Good on G2 to get something there. Wunder continues to be a strong point on the top side, but now having Hjärnan ahead in his lane will make it much easier as G4, as you may have guessed, only continues to get scarier. Spawn, you already talked about it. Luckily, Jankos is here to dissuade him from going any further, but you know he'd chase PerkZ to the end of the earth just to get that kill.
Without flash and heal, look, I'm not saying he can 2v1, but I'm surprised that he didn't give it a red hot go there, because full health, full mana, no summoner spells in his own right, I guess.
You told me 40 minutes, man. It's 9 minutes. This man should not be able to 2v1.
No, he probably can't, but I'm just saying G4's traits as a person would lend himself to maybe take the risk in doing so. We've already seen him throw the gauntlet a couple of times this game. Now has a couple of members also behind PerkZ's turret. One of them being his top laner, Rockky, that has flash available. Drakos, do they go for this?
They want to go for it. Already using the ultimate for the Aatrox to get him in faster. PerkZ, there's really no way out here, just hoping he can get a kill back. Rockky going to grab one. See absolute control over this mid lane. PerkZ cannot even play the game. Wunder gets to free farm on the top side, but how much is it going to be worth?
This Kassadin is really starting to become a problem. When you don't even have push priority, when you can't force him out of lane, you're definitely not killing him with 2 magic damage users. Something has to change in the game at the moment, and G4 just continue to scaling up. Wunder doing the same thing on the top side. As you mentioned, got to go back to it. He's 40 CS up, has that cull about to cash in. It's going to be a race against 2 of the carries here.
Mitch. Playing a little aggressive, standing forward, ready to potentially try to get some damage down onto Jankos. And Rockky doing what he can on the top side, but Wunder, of course, as you already mentioned it, massive CS lead. Not quite as big of an item lead.
Ultimate for Rockky.
be able to go for it. Ulti goes out, flash to take that one away. Now G2 looking to force play onto Rich. Chain CC has to be perfect to kill the Pyke, and it is taken out by the side of G2.
Yeah, beautifully played out of Wunder and Hadid, Jankos and Hadid there, just able to bait in Rich. Know that he wants to get out of that lane. They're pushing in aggressively. They're going to be able to break first structure. And finally, one of the lanes going very right for G2.
And this aggressive early game is what you want to see from G2. Yes, everything went wrong in the mid lane to get that Kassadin in his position, but PerkZ is doing his best to hold on as the rest of the map finds advantages.
And now this is a great test case, right? Because we keep talking about powerful top side of the map. PerkZ being a part of that trio core of veterans that we expect to be able to play well for the G2 lineup. However, now PerkZ is in a hole. He hasn't got his first item, going to be next to useless for, the next 7-8 minutes into this game. However, Wunder has a huge advantage. Hjärnan has a massive advantage as well. Solo first turret has a kill at the same time. Lloyd, get a face check.
Try to run his way after that one. Has to use the ultimate just to walk away in the exchange. He's still hovering, hoping maybe the Kassadin can get a fight started in his favor. G4, though, knows better than to commit. Still going to take a bit of poke here, but really not as much as PerkZ would like.
So now a different member is going to have to carry for this G2 lineup. G4 goes forward.
That's a big risk. Here comes the headbutt pulverized once again. Chain CC comes through. G4 now running, trying to make it out to safety. The flash, the auto hits him with the cowbell, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, it certainly is. Meanwhile, the rest of G4's team is taking a dragon. Not going to work out. This comes into the teleport.
Wunder's on the way. Urgot is on the way. Lloyd may just have to run for this one. A little bit harder to chase down the Vayne and the Pyke. Wunder hungry for it. Has the ghost out. Really wants to chase down this Olaf, but it's just going to settle for a kind of a warning shot.
I thought much more action was going to happen on the back end of that Drakos, but a very nice split comes out. Is going to be G2 in the end taking themselves the Infernal Dragon, and they're very far ahead now. Got themselves that 3,000 gold lead. G4, just some mistimed aggression, and they're going to have to play around their windows a lot better, because we said this is a comp that if the game gets scrappy, if it just kind of deteriorates, if they're able to get the 2v2, the 3v3, certainly a possibility to still be able to win those solo fights. However, when you bring Wunder over, when there is just going to be all of the CC available, looks like G2 should be able to take them. Rockky now in some trouble.
Use the knock up here to try to walk away as well. Urgot pulling it back, but Rockky may just have to burn ulti to stay alive here. Needs to be quick on the trigger, is going to use it. Wunder's just going to wait it out. Now pulling him back in the middle of the creep wave. Wants to keep this fight going. As you see, he's only about half the health bar. Is going to come back even less. 10%. Wants to kill him. Buys a bit of time. But here comes the rest of the lineup. G4 is hunting. Rich is hunting. If he gets low enough, that man is going. Death from below. Not going to be used. Wunder using the flash at a clutch moment. But they're chasing him down. They just want to kill him. Jankos is here to fire back. Death from below. Not going to get the kill that they want. And G4 is now running as Jankos is hunting. Pulling back the Pyke. But the Pyke is fed up. Of time isn't enough, wants to make it. Is going to flash out to safety. Jankos still hitting home, still getting the killing spree.
Yeah, it's a 2-for-1 trade in the end. G2 able to already rotate up their bottom lane at the same time, so they're going to take their structure. Still shut down going over to G4, so certainly not all bad news, but looks like right now G2 just reading the map pretty well and able to pick up advantages.
G2 talking about everything playing around Wunder, but meanwhile, so the bottom lane taking out these towers, pushing in for more, making bigger advantages. The Kassadin, the strong point, the Aatrox is not deleted immediately by the chain CC here, and you can see, oh, PerkZ not gonna be able to sidestep that one. Phantom Undertow is gonna chain the CC together. Now they're gonna follow up. Kassadin grabs another one. Bit of an overstep, immediately punished. TP's now coming in. Run from this Kassadin is going to be a nightmare. Lloyd for the Alistar, but they are going to make it out in the end. Blast Cone carrying Wadid to safety.
Yeah, only level 10 there for G4, so doesn't have that second rank in the ultimate, not able to continue the chase as you would think the Kassadin can. Still, overstay there from PerkZ and Jankos. Nearly cost them, but they've knocked out the outer ring of turret. Nothing coming in Ascension's favor, and this is a familiar trend that we're seeing. Ascension, can they generate kills? Are they able to make action happen? Yes, of course they are, but can they translate that into a meaningful objective? So far at Worlds, the answer has just been no. They haven't been able to pick up many turrets at all, haven't really been able to control the flow of the game. And every time G2 do go for one of those plays, they're knocking down a gold objective and continuing to grow this lead.
And you look at it, a massive gold lead now, 5K in the favor of G2, 3 towers, the Infernal Drake as well. Yes, there's a Herald in the hands of Ascension. We'll see what they can do. But Kassadin, really the only member of this Ascension lineup that G2 have to be scared of. And when he's not around, the rest of the lineup just gets to kind of have their way with the map.
Absolutely, and that's what you would expect, right? Maybe even having the Kassadin at this stage is a luxury. Looks like they might want to go for a fight, though.
Essentially going to look to fight in the jungle. G4 can try to chase down isolated members. But Rockky once again getting caught out. The ulti's going to be forced early. Wunder now moving in. Fear beyond death. He's going to throw it out. He's going to pull him right back. Clean pickoff from the side of G2.
And Ascension Gaming just continue to look for these fights in the jungle, but they are so far behind, and there is no real way in. They can't isolate the members that they need to be able to. G2 with this gold lead just looking to group up, looking to close this one out early, looking to force that tiebreaker.
They know scaling could be a problem. PerkZ with a nice sidestep there. Wadid now looking for the re-engage, and it's Hjärnan who's hungry for blood as Rich drops. G4, the start looks so good, but G2 are merciless. They are not giving Ascension any more time to scale later into this game.
And I think that's the right call. I think that
I
when
would
you got
agree.
yourself a Kassadin and a Vayne, the last thing you want to be doing is fighting with completed items, but more impressively, the ability to just, match toe for toe, not get caught off guard. One thing that we've been very critical of the major regions is, maybe skipping some steps and getting caught rotating through jungles. Not happening today for G2. They seemed very much homed in. An impressive first game victory over Supermassive, looking to continue that now.
Very calm and composed thus far. NikSar threatening maybe to go in with the Kassadin. Kassadin Vayne, of course, always going to be terrifying. They want to chase this down. Alistar always got to give a little bit of respect to the Pyke. You get too low and you just get executed. Not too concerned about that ultimate. And now maybe the Herald gets used top. PerkZ, of course, has the ability to cancel it if he can see it coming out. They're just waiting on the timer. It is going to run out soon, so they need to make a decision. ASC, can you break your first tower of the game with this Herald?
And I think that they're doing the right thing. They finally picked G4 up, put him into a side lane, looking to continue to secure him free farm, get the 1-3-1 going. The problem is that no one can really go with Wunder at this stage of the game. So Rockky is going to have to catch his wave incredibly deep, which allows G2 the time to be able to do this with Perk, mirror their weak side, and not really be exploited, because G4 with 4 kills should be a powerhouse. They just gave up so much elsewhere to get him to that stage that it's now becoming a real problem.
Let's take a look elsewhere. I mean, you've got an Olaf still working on what appears to be a black cleaver over a jungle item. Aatrox still putting bits and pieces together in pursuit of a black cleaver of his own. And Vayne, an item behind the opposition on top of the tier 2 boots. Massive deficits. And Olaf now got to be a little bit careful. Rich, do they even want to take this fight here? It looks like they do, because G4 is here. PerkZ has to play safe, and the Aatrox trying to take down Jankos off to the side. Wadid buying a bit more time. Rockky now running. The resurrection is going to come through, but Wunder's coming. He's threatened. He says, give me that fear beyond death. But the flash is beautifully timed. Hjärnan, though, with a follow-up. The X does get laid down, and now they're trying to retreat. Cannot afford to get taken down by Rich. Hjärnan, though, just cleaning up the rest of the team. PerkZ is going to live. A beautiful stop on that ultimate coming through, and G4 wants something, but he doesn't get it, and it's a beautiful triple for Hjärnan.
Yeah, and one more time, that was Ascension starting a fight, thinking they had the numbers. NikSar does not rotate. That is 5 members for G2, all on the same page, able to pick that one up, and now they can just continue to grow this lead. Already 8,000 gold up at only 18 minutes. Must be one of the biggest leads of play-ins. And even their strong point in G4 now being equalized by PerkZ.
And Spawn, we take a look back at this play, and Ascension so tunnel visioned on this. They're splitting up, they're looking for these opportunities, but great rotations coming in from G2 to bring the rest of their team into this fight.
And maybe if Jankos dies there, it's a different story. They can continue the fight on 2 different ends, but Wunder does a great job of first pushing the Vayne out of the team fight, because there is no escort for her, before rejoining with the majority of numbers. Just a heads-up play coming out of Wunder. Good exhaust on the back end, but really the ability to just shepherd NikSar away, get rid of that 80 carry, opened up a whole heap of space for G2 to be able to play around, and they just used it expertly.
Beautiful performance from G2 in that fight, and kind of in skirmishes across this game, outside of the few in the early game that Ascension were able to win. And now we check in, the gold lead just continues to grow for G2. 7K just about in their favor. Baron's not even up yet, Spawn. It is still 19 minutes. We're 20 minutes shy of the terrifying 40-minute Kassadin Vayne, and hard to imagine the game going that far at this point.
Yeah, especially when your 80 carries 4,000 gold behind. I mean, that is a little more than an item, and is going to start hurting. I think that the difference between day 1 and day 2 teams, G2 looking a little bit sloppy day number 1. coming back in a massive way right now. Infinity, similar boat, just shows that the consistency at Worlds needs to be appreciated. We'll see whether they're able to continue this role, because sure, they have to throw out Ascension. We've already closed out Ascension. We've already seen one massive comeback today from Infinity against EDG. G2 do not want something similar to happen. They go for the fight.
And now running Blade of the Rune King means that Vayne could have chased there, but doesn't want to risk it. Wunder, you walk into those shotgun legs, you are gonna die.
As soon as the CC missed, there was just so much turnaround potential from Wunder. G4 not able to defend turrets. One of Kassadin's main strengths in the mid game is he's split pushing. Well, against 4 members, you can't really do that, unfortunately. And Rockky just has no presence on the opposite side of the map, so G2 just dictating everywhere right now. And unfortunately, 10,000 gold down there is just no good team fight to take. Ascension being starved out.
Absolute control of the top side, denying every resource they can. Jankos using the ulti just to see if they can catch anyone sleeping under the tower. For now, the focus remains the tower, however. Kills not on the mind of G2. They'll take an opportunity if they get one, but they want the objectives more, and they'll just continue to extend this gold lead. Spawn, literally a minute ago it was 7K. We're up to 10K now. G2 are monstering this game.
Yeah, and this just shows their experience. Wunder looking for a little bit of a tango, not going to be able to find one, but just the ability to identify what the next objective is and then move there safely. You know, pick on the Kassadin, the lowest amount of wave clear. Start Rocky's lane nice and deep. There's no response play. And then as we already mentioned, you know, if Jankos gets out that wall, Wadid has kind of the barrel to start shooting fish in. And there's nothing really that Ascension can do with that play. So G2 just picking up every bit of available gold, you know, taking away jungle camps at the same time. And now they will just have to be able to position around Baron. This game is one Baron bait, not even the Baron itself, but just one face check away from being a G2 victory. And Ascension really have run out of all good options. You know, the Hail Mary steal or a perfect team fight is really all that is left.
Dire straits, most certainly for Ascension. Can they find a win on this stage? Will G2 take that away from them? Maybe they can make a daring move. Maybe it's a death brush. Maybe it's G2 overstepping on a Baron so that Ascension can steal it away and buy themselves a bit more time. But even now, difficult for Pyke even to clear out a bit of vision, let alone take mid lane control, put anything down around this Baron.
Well, normally you want to bring your jungler with you when you're clearing out vision. The problem is that Lloyd hasn't even finished his jungle item and is right now very squishy. So if he goes anywhere near that, he's going to have to burn summoner spells, means he can't get into the pit. And you can see that right now, G4 doesn't do that much damage.
But the Vayne is on the way, and she might. The Blade of the Rune King comes through. Wunder's still going to throw out the ult. He still wants to use the Fear Beyond Death. Not going to get pulled in, though. NikSar being there saves his butt.
Certainly does, and there is no posturing right now over the Baron objective. They're not in the pit, they haven't started it up, and there is a teleport on both members that attack that side lane. So creative use of a split pusher there out of the Ascension lineup comes up massive.
Rich, though, has to be careful. He's just going to leap out to safety. Connected
there
by
they
Kaisa, instantly leaping in. That's Rich going down. Rampage now for Jankos as he takes the kill credit. TP comes in for ASC. They think this is their chance to fight. G4 wants a little bit more. They know that Wunder is not here. His TP up and available as he respawns. He's not going to get a chance, though. In goes the Aatrox. PerkZ doing what he can to peel back the fight. But Hjärnan going off on the backside. Takes down the Vayne. G4, though, going to get one back. Rockky kills himself as he tries to dash over the wall to safety. And it is Hjärnan on cleanup duty in the back end of that fight.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this is a different kind of G2, you know, not PerkZ carrying. Sure, got out a lot of team fight damage, but did fall down. But Hjärnan today showing that he too wants in on the action. 7-0-2. Able to have a great performance, but really it is just all about the jungler. Jankos 5-1-10, 15 out of 18 kill participations, running an absolute train at the moment. And Rich, he has to get vision, because if not, they give up Baron for free. They have no priority over the map, but they're so far behind. He gets blown up immediately without Pyke. It's a 4v4 team fight, and there's just no real way for them to be able to win it. Look how much damage comes out of Jankos' Pebbles. And just so much power built into Kaisa's kit. You know, you can see NikSar thinking, I want to be able to take Hjärnan down. Goes invisible, absolutely loses track of where he is. No superior range there. Gets blown up instantly on the back end of it.
And it's just brutal to watch when G2 are already in control of a team fight. And those clutch moments come down to Aatrox trying to find a way to the backline, dashing through those Taliyah rocks. That minefield is just absolute death sentence for him in the end. And for G2 now, feels a lot like that victory lap, walking down their gold lead. Those empowered minions, the strength of each of their members to pull it out. ASC for a mistake, looking for a window of opportunity, but it does not look like G2 is going to give it to him.
Yeah, and let me tell you, Drakos, 14,000 gold, 15,000 gold, that's a big lead. When you only have 38,000 gold, that is a gigantic lead. I don't know if there's anything you can do at that point to muck up this game, and Ascension really are praying for a very uncharacteristic mistake to come out. But G2 not going to give it to them. They're going to close it out tutorial style. You can see how much the game means. They do not want to get one of those seed ones coming into the best of 5. So instead, they're just going to continue to play this one out nice and slowly.
Walking it down, looking for the opportunity just to close it out. Move on. They'll look to take a tiebreaker later in the day.
And that tiebreaker becomes hype because I think that Supermassive has had a couple of fantastic games and kind of an average game against G2 earlier today, but I think that they do have more, especially if CBM plays up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Hjärnan killed Olaf.
Yep.
That's what happens. Of course, a massive gold lead, so it is just G2 walking this one down. Now, we are still waiting. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe NikSar can do something, but sadly, that is a fed Urgot, and you just do not get to play League of Legends when he pushes that R button. Jankos gonna bring in another kill as well. Double in the end for Wunder. G2 slowly but surely cutting the last little light of hope out of G4 and the Ascension lineup. This is it. G2 moving up to 3-1 in the group, contesting for first place.
And if you're G2, you breathe a big sigh of relief because Destiny back in your own hands. You will have the opportunity to play Supermassive for that seed 1. And they are starting to look a little bit more clean, a little bit more polished. Potentially some of the class of the more experienced members starting to show. And that final game of the day really does become exciting.
It is truly a huge occasion now for G2. You know, it started off so grim. I think a lot of people lost faith, but they have showed up here today. And even when the Kassadin was ahead, they did not lose sight of their goal. Even when PerkZ, the main man on that team, was put behind, they still put up the results.
And on the flip side, Ascension have to look at this and say, you know what, we have the individual talent. We're picking up kills in the early game. However, they're just not able to translate it into any meaningful objective. So a little bit of learning, a little bit go back towards that Southeast Asian tour, try and polish that early game transition into the mid game and try and generate some meaningful leads because, you know, they've shown that on a 1v1 level, they're okay, but it's just kind of the priority on the map that they're missing out on.
Yeah, this was not enough this time around. But to get a breakdown on that G2 victory, let's send it over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much. This is unfortunately the end of the road for Ascension. The last game we saw. Now, when they play in the Thai Pro League, they are far and away the best team. And also when they get to the SEA Tour, they have been the best team ever since Vietnam had gotten his own region. So I think we may see some more of Ascension in the future. And we saw some glimpses throughout the tournament of their strength also in this early game, but it was never really enough.
And it's not a lot of games that they get to play on the international stage, unfortunately, the 4 games they got to play at Worlds. But I really did see a great movement. They started learning quite a bit, that they can rely on Lloyd a little bit more, that to the top side of the map, that Rockky can play as carries. So once again, even though I said that I didn't want to see the specific matchup, I just wanted to see Rockky on a carry, and that's what we got.
Yeah, and also something that has been a shining light throughout the playing stage and before G4 in the mid lane. We've seen him a couple of times now on the international stage, also, of course, a long time ago with the Bangkok Titans, and he's still got it. I think, unfortunately, for Ascension, this was really all they could show in this game.
Yeah, I mean, G4 did a good job of making this game look close for the first 15 minutes. He was able to pick up a lot of kills. He got a double kill in that play before getting traded back, and for a while, it did really look like he might get out of control on Kassadin. Unfortunately, his side laners really let him down, and they fell so far behind that there's never really a chance for them to actually win this game, but he had a great showing all tournament long.
And I want to give it up to Lloyd as well, because there was a point where he was able to give Kassadin an advantage, but also at the same time try and pressure for Scuttlecrab when the Kassadin is in no position to help you out. So there's just basic communication points where you can just ask your friend, are you going to be helping out with Scuttle? No? Then I'm not going to contest for it. Those are just kind of things you can take back to your league.
Yeah, and this is then the point of the game where we also just need to focus the attention completely on G2, who were active in that early game. And then when the mid game came along, they really went rolling, started rolling. And one of the guys who was rolling was our MasterCard player of the game, Wunder. I don't know if you roll on Urgot. You probably heard a lot of people in the process with all those like spiky legs, but he was rolling.
Yeah, he was doing a good job of roaming down and kind of trading his pressure away, did not really get any jungler attention for the most part, and was able to get a massive lead on the top side. They did try and trade him back, but he was always doing a good job surviving for a really long time and forcing action. But there was a close award to give out because multiple people stepped up in this game.
Yeah, and it was just because Wunder actually, without getting much attention from the jungler at all, had such a large CS advantage, has actually had so much control in the matchup there. What we expected from Wunder from the EUL CS, we got from Wunder in this game.
Yeah, this is almost a perfect meta for him. Now, I've only, though, seen it on Urgot. He picked it also against the Aatrox in a lot of matchups. Do we think there's more to this if it gets banned out? His history would say yes, but, you know, if he needs to be challenged versus Supermassive, do we have the faith?
I think he can play either side of the Aatrox or Urgot matchup and be the better in this group. But outside of that, we haven't really seen anything.
No.
I don't want to see him go back on the tanks. But, you know, how many other fighters are you going to play if the other guy is locking in Sion and they double ban these two? I'm not quite sure what's left in the pool that he would want to play into that kind of thing.
So he has a mad GP. You can play the Fiora that we saw from Ray.
In the EULCS, we like banned him from playing GP because he lost so many games on it, but then it was kind of a meme because he did win on it.
But he's a great GP player.
Yeah, he
but
is.
It's a team play thing. So
Yes.
ultimately, that's the major issue there that he kind of follows himself into, that he does need to play a tank if he doesn't get his hand on the
Well,
two.
the reason why I ask is because G2 still has a game to play versus Supermassive, and I don't necessarily think that top lane will be the trouble point there, and we'll have to see by showing what they did in this game, G2, what Supermassive decides to ban out when they go into that rematch. We'll have to see, but I think they have a couple of options.
They have a couple. The thing about like a GP or any of the kind of like later game carry picks that would concern me is like so much of their resurgence, so to speak, has been off the fact that he's winning his lanes really hard on his own. And even if GP is playing well, it's like my CS is even pressure, and then I become useful later, whereas I do think the early game approach that we've seen a lot more recently is the right approach.
And because we've seen so much of a defined style between both these teams, I don't think much changes. Perhaps we'll just see another Urgot Aatrox lane just because Fabulous has played in the past, even not to your liking. He's gonna pay it again, man. It's going to happen. You're just gonna have to sit there and take it. But what I'm going to be looking towards is going to be the bottom lane once again, because Heimerdinger is not going to be given to Hjärnan, and it's just going to be the matchup that we're going to be looking.
And maybe that's how we can also close off this match discussion with the replay of the G2 team fighting, because this was an opportunity for Hjärnan to kind of show that he is a strong player. Obviously, the level of competitors will be much higher when we're up versus Supermassive. But here for G2 in the team fights, everyone was doing that.
Yeah, I don't think Zeitnot's going to be tumbling away on the right side of the screen and doing nothing in a team fight. But
you don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right. He could be playing Vayne.
So this is just, he had so much space to work off of. This was just an easy triple kill for him. But congratulations that he was able to get it down. So, I mean,
Oh, that was an easy triple kill.
very easy.
There's different kinds of triple
I'm
kills.
just kidding. Kissing? Oh my God, kidding.
Well, that being said, I think that Hjärnan, it was a great game for him. Looking towards his Kaisa, I think in his laning phase point, that's something you can look towards. That's a pick that he has. But remember, laning phase priority means a lot. I think he's going to go towards a Varus so he doesn't fall behind. He picked the Jhin last time, which is not that bad of an idea. But between those two champions, I would go towards a Varus.
Yeah, I think he's looking a lot better. I think Jankos is looking a lot better. Wunder's looking a lot better. I actually think they might be the favorites heading into that, but we have one more game before we get
we have one more game before that, and then it's the tiebreaker. But first, after G2 here managing to push through that tiebreaker, we're also going to see the Direwolves going up against EDG to hang on to their hopes of the knockouts.